Hello sanibonani babukeli, sesifikile thina nentandokazi yohlelo lenu Yilungelo Lakho. It's your right. Uyazi ke siza bukhoma la kumamba phambili phela iSABC 1 eMzansi for sure. Lo umangqolose uNonhlanhla wakajali siyatholakala ke mbukeli lapha futhi ku SABC Plus if you download the app. Mbukeli kusemqoka ke ukuthi sihlale phela sivulile amehlo kanye nezindlebe futhi sinakekele zonke phela izinto ezithinta umhlala phansi wethu. Yes mbukeli, your pension is your life investment, and that is why it is very important to know and pay very keen interest in your pension affairs. Manje ke mbukele ukukhuluma kabanzi ngokusemqoka ekumele phela sikwazi ngezindaba zezimpesheni zethu. Asamukela insizwa namhlanje nginaye ubaba uSimanga Selemeni okhulumela iGovernment Employees Pension Fund. Yena ke akahambi yedwa, uphelekezelwa nguMr Brian Karidza ozosifundisa phela ngezindaba zama benefits kanye nemininingwane phela abayisebenzisayo beyiGovernment Employees Pension Fund ukuze bakwazi ukuthi babale lawo ma benefits ekumele wena uwathole uma phela usuthatha umhlala phansi. Gentlemen, a very good afternoon to both of you. Sanamukela ohlelweni. Let's start with you, Brian. Welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me to the show.
Thank you so much for joining us, Babu Smag.
Good afternoon to you and the viewers. We are back here again.
Yes, you're welcome back again. Now, Brian, we've been promoting this show, of course, in partnership with the GEPF. Tell us a bit about, the background of the GEPF. What is it that you guys do for the benefit of our viewers who might not understand what you stand for?
Okay, so the GEPF is the pension fund for government workers. We have the sole responsibility of ensuring that our members can retire comfortably. So we collect contributions on behalf of our members, which we invest responsibly to ensure that when they reach their retirement, they can start receiving income when they're no longer able to work. And that's how we protect them in their retirement. All
right. Babu Smanga, maybe just a bit of background. Why did you specifically decide to sponsor uhlelo linjena?
Look, Msasazi, there's been a trend out there where most financial brokers have now started a new trend of targeting members of the GEPF.
Okay.
And in these, whilst there's nothing wrong about financially advising a person, but what we have picked up is that they are now encouraging them.
Encouraging our members when as Ilokuzan
to resign out of the GEPF and invest their money with their private insurances. And the reality is that these which we are going to be discussing today is about how do we ensure that our members are aware of both worlds so that when they make that decision, they know exactly what they are putting themselves into.
Okay, maybe let's get straight into it. Brian, I mean, maybe talk to us then about the difference. I know Babu Smanga is going to talk to us about the resignation aspect of things, but talk to us about retirement and the type of benefits that you accrue as a member.
Okay, thank you for that. So let me just pose a scenario. You're going to work throughout your lifetime. And whilst you're working, you're receiving a salary each month. Now let's think about what will happen once you reach the end of your working career and you no longer stop working. You would still require some form of income to sustain you.
Absolutely.
In those years in which you're no longer working. And that's precisely what happens in retirement. So when you work as part of the civil service and you reach a point where you're no longer able to work and you've reached your normal retirement age, we call that a retirement. And then you start drawing and benefiting from all the amounts that you saved previously. And you start receiving a pension each month. And that's what the GPF pays you.
All right. And Babu Smanga, then resignation yona ke kuba yini umuntu oshiya emsebenzini avana hambe, and then what happens to ama benefits wakhe, especially if a member ye GEPF?
Yes, Resignation would be the opposite of what Brian spoke about. So it means you are a worker, you work just before you reach retirement age, which is, in terms of the GPF, is between the ages of 60 to 65. You decide to cease your employment and your membership of the GPF. In which case, then, unlike what Brian explained, you will then be entitled to once-off lump sum payment where we are paying you what you would have accumulated up until at that point when you resign. And your relationship with the GPF ends there.
Okay.
You will no longer be entitled to any other additional benefits. You are only entitled to once-off resignation benefit in a form of a lump sum. And the other element to it is that it will then be entirely up to you whether do you want that money to be paid directly to you, or you want to preserve it wherever you are comfortable, or invest it wherever you are comfortable. That is basically the difference between what Brian explained and the resignation part of it.
Now, Brian, Usmanga says that there's been an increase of people with your private annuity entities that have been encouraging some of your members to actually take out their pension and invest with them. How is that a disadvantage to your members?
Okay, maybe let me take a step back
Yeah.
and just describe in detail what benefits you're entitled to from the GPF. You reach your normal retirement age, you're no longer working, you get a lump sum, which we call our gratuity benefit, and then for the rest of your life, you're going to be receiving a pension each month. This pension is guaranteed for 5 years. And then after those 5 years, if you are to pass on, the pension will continue to your surviving spouse.
Okay.
So if you look at it, the fund is paying you for the rest of your life,
Okay.
continuing to your surviving spouse. And if you have any children who are under the age of 23, they will also receive some form of pension after you and your spouse have passed on.
Okay.
Now, when you step out from the GPF, you decide to resign, you're no longer getting that guarantee from the fund.
Okay.
You're placing the trust into a different party, which will be an insurer. And the products they give you will not necessarily be able to match that guarantee that we're giving you as a fund. So that's what you're giving up.
What are those benefits that that they are giving up? Maybe in more detail, Brian, because I want to understand, if I'm a government employee, what are you telling me? How are you convincing me to stay within the GEPF and not actually resign and take it to a private entity?
Okay, so if we look at the GPF, from the point you become a member of the GPF,
Yeah.
we are selling you a promise. We're saying that by the time you reach your retirement age, you're going to get a certain lump sum, and in addition to that, you're going to get a pension that will be payable for the rest of your life. And this pension will depend on how long you serve as part of the fund and what salaries you are getting towards the end of your career, as well as a certain factor that is defined in our rules. So if you look at it, we are actually specifying the amounts that will be payable for you from retirement.
Okay.
And then in addition to that, we are promising to give you pension increases, which are aligned to inflation or to a measure of inflation once you start receiving that pension.
All right.
Now, when you step out and you go to the insurer, when you resign, you're being given one huge lump sum, which might look attractive at first. But then you're now going to the insurer to say, okay, I don't know how to manage this lump sum, and I want to make sure that I have an income for the rest of my life.
True.
We call that, they call that a life annuity. You're going to pay your insurer this lump sum, and then they start paying you this regular monthly pension. And now the challenge is, it's not, you do not know in advance, or you do not know, it cannot be guaranteed what that pension is going to be, because it depends on how the economy and how the markets are performing at that point in time. Whereas with the GPF, we've taken out that issue of the market performance.
Okay.
We are saying that what you're going to get is based on your salary when you reach your retirement age, and on the years in which you've served as part of the GEPF.
Hold that thought, Brian, because I really want to understand, and also from Utatu Smaga, like, I mean, when do you actually start calculating and contributing towards this retirement fund, so to speak, and also if you're paying out upon resignation? But we're going to deal with that shortly after this break. And Mbugeli, number, I'm going to open the lines when we come back from the ad break. Remember, you can still follow us on the SABC Plus app. Siyabuya khona manje ngayindawo. Welcome back to Yilungelo, Lakho. Can you see we've got new imaging, we've got a new field studio, a new look studio, and of course, namhlanje we are doing a show in partnership with the GEPF. Bonake abaphatha ezezimpesheni zabasebenzi baka government. Sengiyavula ke manje Mbukeli ingcingo 0117140669, alternatively 0117140670. Ungasithumela ne WhatsApp ku 0608449857, alternatively consumer@sabc.co.za is our email address. Sikhona futhi ku SABC Plus, sikhona ku Facebook and on Twitter. My guest today, Ubabu Smanga Salemeni, and of course he is the GEPF Communications Manager alongside Mr. Brian Karidza, who is the Head of Actuarial Services and Benefit Administration. Mbukeli, sikhuluma ngokuthi wena uma umsebenzi kahulumeni iziphi izinto ekumele uzazi ke mayelana phela nepension yakho. Njengoba bese chazile Ubabu Smanga ukuthi ngathi sekunokunyukela kokuthi kuza labantu beimpesheni abangebona ba government ukuthi bazolo bezokho-ex abantu ama-members e-GEPF ukuthi abakhiphe le imali bayo-investa nabo, of which then you lose the benefits, as O'Brien was explaining before we went to ad break. All right, so Brian, you were still busy with the products and how they differ before we went to ad break. I think you had gotten around one. Please take us through the other products that you want to share with us today.
Thank you. So the other product is called a living annuity. Works pretty similar to the first one, where you still give the lump sum to an insurer, but now you have a bit more flexibility on deciding how much you want to withdraw each month.
Okay.
And it ranges from 2.5% to 17% of the value that you have given to the insurer. Now with this one is a bit more attractive to our members in that if you are to pass on, whatever remains can be passed on to your dependents.
Okay.
Unlike the other product that I described, where it doesn't form part of your estate, and if you pass on, nothing can be passed on to your beneficiaries that outlive you.
Okay. Now, Babu Smanga, this is what I want to understand. Xa uthatha nge-beneficiaries ne-members ze-GEPF ne-pensions, are these lifelong employees? Bangene nini in the workforce? Because umntu can just come and decide to work for government, maybe esena 45, which is closer to a retirement age. How would you then calculate towards inansika figures ze-retirement azoyifumana?
Okay, you see, for public servants at provincial and national government departments,
yes,
when you sign your contract of employment, you automatically become a member of the GEPF.
Okay.
When we receive your contributions. Now, you contribute 7.5% of your salary every month, and your employer, depending on which sector are you, your employer contributes 13. If you are in the army, it's about 16%. Now, for the GEPF, in order to determine your retirement benefit, we look at your pensionable service. How many years have you been contributing to the GEPF, and what would be your average salary over a period of 2 years before retirement? And then when we add those, they will give us what is then due to you.
Okay.
But the difference is, if you retire with less than 10 years, we treat that exit as if you are resigning because you've got less than 10 years. But with 10 years and more, you are then entitled to those two payments of a gratuity or a lump sum plus monthly pension for life.
All right, let's go to the callers now. Usinaye Uthandiwe Cape Town. Thandiwe, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Singakunceda njani namhlanje?
Good afternoon to you and your guests today at Studio, ma'am, and thank you for taking my call. I have a question for Mr. Brian, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, ma'am.
So my father passed away in 2019, and he was an employee of the GEPF, right? And in that, we filed for his pension fund as the beneficiaries. That was in 2022. I filed it personally at the regional offices here in Cape Town. And some of the pension beneficiaries have been paid out, but the one that is taking so long and forever is my benefit personally. If I call today at the call centers of the GEPF, they're telling me this. If I call tomorrow, they're telling me this. I have filed the Z894 forms, I think, 3 times, if not 4 times, because I don't know what's happening. And then when I called again, I was told that is last week. I was told that they were trying to retrieve my file again from their storage as they store their documentation or the documents off-site. So now they want the Z102 form, which is the exit form, to recalculate again from the unclaimed. But my question now is, they have not been at the same time, because when they told me that, they said the benefit will take up to 4 or 6 weeks to pay out.
Okay.
Of which is now they went way above that. I filed in October last year, and I'm still fighting the same thing. And I'm a student, and I was depending on my dad. So I just want to find out who can assist me in speeding up the process, because now I've been kicked out of school because I haven't paid. I was supposed to pay on the 1st of September, and they gave me a grace until Friday, because I did tell them that I am communicating with the GEPF. I'm being called by this person. I'm being called by this person. I'm giving them emails just so as proof. Do you understand? So I just want to find out, what can I do? Who can assist me in this matter? Because I'm at odds now.
Wait, Thandiwe, just before you drop the line, I'm also going to let you speak to Brian. Were you given any specific reasons as to why your benefits were going to be paid at a different stage than the other benefits that were paid out already?
I don't know. Nobody has given me any clarity. As I mentioned, I filed last year, October, right? And the first payment was made in February.
Okay.
The first payment was made in February, because there's 6 beneficiaries of my father's, which is my siblings. I know all of them. And then there's a period, they paying one person, and then after 4, 6, 8 weeks, they pay another person, and then after 2 months, they pay another person. So it's like that. But with my one, it's there isn't any definitive answer, really, because as I mentioned, today I'm getting told this. Tomorrow I'm being told the other thing. There's nothing tangible.
All right. Please stay on the line, Thandiwe, in case Brian wants to ask you some more personal questions there. Brian, please go ahead and address Thandiwe, a very serious issue there. I mean, she's at school. She's about to get kicked out of school. Why aren't these benefits being paid out to her?
Thank you. Let me start off by apologizing to Thandi. I think
you can talk to her directly. She's still on the line.
Hello, Thandi. Our aim is to make sure that all beneficiaries are paid on time, and I apologize that your benefit has not been paid. However, I'm not able to assist without all the information, and maybe I'm not sure how we can then get your details, after the show, so that you can contact me directly, and then we'll get to the bottom of the delay.
Thank you, Thandiwe. Thank you so much. But Brian, what do you think could have been the issues? I mean, she's not receiving answers. And also, this is a new thing that we're now getting, that if there's multiple beneficiaries, they will all get paid at different times. Very quickly, before we take another quick ad break.
So death benefits are quite complicated in that there are extensive investigations that need to be done to ensure that we identify all not only the nominated beneficiaries, but all potential beneficiaries.
All right,
And
you're going to
sometimes
continue
the
with that
delays-
answer. Sorry, Brian, I really need to take an ad break. Mbukeli, ngizivuleleke nazi izingcingo lapho, nazi izinamba lapho on your screen. We're coming back shortly after this. If you have questions, specify them. Ubaba Usmanga or Brian, we're back shortly after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. It's the Yilungelo, Lakho, and of course, this is a special show, as you saw our promo. Lapho ke sisebenzisana khona in partnership with the GEPF. Bona ke laba bagada ama pension, ama government workers. Sisho kona ukuthi ke Mbukeli, uma wena usebenza kuleyo sector ke ila bekwazi ukuthi bakugodlela imali yakho ukuthi uma wena usuzofika kumhlala phansi wakho bakunikeza isamba esizogada wena nomndeni wakho nezingane noma kuthiwa uyashona bakwazi ukuthi baqhubeke bakulungisele izimali zakho. Okay, Brian, you are still continuing with a very important point, because I want to ask Ubaba Usmanga ukuthi, are these some of the common complaints that we heard from Uthandiwe that you get? But Brian, just quickly round off your point there to answer Uthandiwe.
Thank you. So death benefits require extensive investigations.
Yes.
And we look at them holistically. We look at other payments that have been made from maybe your life insurance cover and so on. So usually if someone gets paid before the other, either the trustees have decided that...
But the life insurance cover has nothing to do with the pension fund, Brian. Why would you have to look at that?
So if we look at death benefits, and I'll deviate slightly from the GPF, if you even look at the Pension Funds Act, they're governed by Section 37C, which says you have to look at the you have to pay people according to the degree of dependency.
Oh, okay.
So if, let's say, another beneficiary has been paid the proceeds of the life insurance policy first, and then there's another one who has not yet received anything, they would get they would get preference to...
And they're also younger than 21 as well.
So
oh, I see.
But like I said, I don't have the specifics of this particular case. It might be very different, but those are some of the challenges that we face when it comes to the distribution of death benefits.
But why would it take so long, Brian? I mean, she says she already filed a request in 2020. I think the father passed away in 2019. What could be the delay besides you looking at, of course, the issues that you just mentioned now?
So what also leads to that is if there are some form of family disputes. Because when doing the investigations, we do conduct interviews with different family members. Some might not recognize a certain dependent. And then we have to verify the level of dependency, go through all the bank documents to see if there was actual support, financial support being provided to this person. And these investigations can be lengthy if we're not being provided with all the information upfront.
Okay.
But like I said, without the specifics of the particular case,
don't worry, you'll talk to Thandiwe. We've got her details. Thandiwe ushiyile imininingwane yakho, so hopefully bazokuthinta i-GEPF bakusize ntokazi, and hopefully you get rescued from that situation. Dr. Usmanga, are these some of the common complaints that you deal with on a daily basis when it comes to beneficiaries and, of course, claims process here? And are you doing anything to try and expedite that whole waiting time here so that it's not this long up until umntana zaxoshwe varsity because they are not receiving the benefits?
No. Look, in terms of the law, we are required to pay within a period of 60 days after having received fully completed exit forms.
Okay.
And where do the members submit their exit forms? They first start at their human resources sections where they are working. Now, once they have completed everything there, even including a similar claim like this, it will start where the member was working. And then thereafter, once everything has been filled in, it goes to the GPF. And on receipt, we then notify the people concerned that GPF has received your exit document. Now, with this kind of complaints, what we normally encourage our members to do is that, especially in a case of retirement, because retirement is a planned event, you know very well that December 2023 I'll
You are
be going on
taking-
retirement.
yes.
You can start as soon as 6 months before you exit.
Okay.
To start working on your documentations and submitting them, and then we process them, and then we pay you a day after you have finished working.
Your last day of work.
Now, the problem with what Brian is talking about is because it's a death benefit, which requires investigations.
Oh, I see. Okay.
That is why it will normally track over a period of time.
But ngiyayichazela amalokhuzana baba uSmanga, do you ever explain this to ama members when just hold that thought actually, because I really want to quickly go back to the lines. Uzina from here in Joburg has been on the line for some time. Zina, thank you so much for staying on the line. Welcome to the show. How can we assist you this afternoon?
Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you for joining us. Go ahead, Zina.
Essentially, that's why I say thank you for taking my call. My father passed away in 2020, and my question is linked to the special pensions fund that exists within GEPF, according to my understanding. I have five other siblings, and technically I'm the only one based in Africa. They are based overseas because they were born overseas. We approached the GEPF, we submitted, all the necessary paperwork. And we were told that, or I was told that technically they can't pay anything out due to this overseas South Africa connection. And then, obviously within that, I'm the only daughter based here, but from another mother, whereas all the other children are from the same mother.
Okay.
So we share the same father, but we don't share the same mom.
Okay.
And they're all based overseas and I'm based here. So there's been declines for the applications that I've made. The Gauteng office even suggested that I apply in my personal capacity. I did that, gave them all the paperwork. It was declined. And now I'm looking for a way forward to see how I can make that possible, because my siblings have no plans of coming to South Africa, since the funeral time, to now apply for this. They've shown no interest in the wrapping up of their estate. I was appointed the executor on my father's estate, but still that seems to not hold any water in me making headway to able to at least even just apply for my own section, because I would essentially like to, progress my son's future with all of that, because I'm the eldest of the children. And, then they can, I guess, if necessary, apply in their own capacity, because we share a surname. They've got all the information that I've got from where they're overseas when they're good and ready.
Zina, did they...
So I wanted to find out what can be done.
Okay, and did they explain to you also why your submissions or your requests were declined?
They mentioned now multiple reasons. They said my father's married. I'm aware of that. This is why, they're my siblings.
Okay.
Then they said it has to be a group or like one group claim. There was at least two different sets of reasons. I was given one reason when I applied in my own capacity, that my father has a spouse, and I'm like, but I'm aware because I submitted their marriage certificate. And then when the initial application was made, I did have group documents, and they were like, it becomes a bit complicated because they're overseas, so they must apply directly from overseas. This was during COVID. Paperwork was emailed and sent. I was even put in connection with the person in Pretoria who handles the overseas applications, and still no headway.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Zina. Can you also please leave your numbers with our producers? Of course, the GEPF team came here as a team. There are people that are taking those numbers so that they can specifically try and assist you with those cases. Mbugeli, we're coming back shortly after this break. We're still talking everything GEPF. When you're a government employee, noma umntwana womuntu obesebenza ku-government awazi ukuthi impesheni zasekhaya zaya kuphi, uzosifonela nazi number on your screen, email. Usicheke futhi na ku SABC Plus as well as on Facebook and on Twitter. We're back shortly after this. Ningaindawo. Mbugeli, welcome back. It is the GEPF show that, well, okay, we are working in partnership with the GEPF. Cishe ngathi sponsored by GEPF. Mofuna ukusebenzisa lelo gama ke. Mbugeli, today's show ke sikhuluma ngayo yonke into mayelana nama government employees ukuthi ama pension fund wenu uma ni retire noma ni resigner yiziphi izinto ke ekumele uziqaphele. My guest today ubaba uSmanga Selemeni, he's the GEPF Communications Manager, alongside Brian Kariza. He is the head of actuarial services as well as benefit administration. We just had a caller before Sia Ezimagete Uzina la at Joburg. Very quickly, Brian, in terms of Zina's case, how would you then advise your members, especially that have different fathers, but the member, let's say the member is the father and he's got different wives or women or baby mamas, and also they're scattered all over the diaspora and the States and so forth. How do you then triangulate around that to ensure that there's a speedy resolution when they want to get their benefits?
The easiest thing for members to do is to keep the information updated on the nomination forms.
Who needs to? Is it the member? In this case, who would be the father?
Yeah, so the member has to alert us of all beneficiaries.
Okay.
I know it's a sensitive topic, but it makes it easier for the fund to identify the beneficiaries if they've been listed.
Okay. All right. And what else can they do to ensure if the member did not keep their details updated? What else can they do in Zina's situation, for example? Babu Smang, is there anything that you can add there?
I think, you see, the problem with this, our membership, is that because you do not make a choice of joining the GPF.
Yes.
Now, you'll find a person joining government at the age of 21. Mm-hmm. Will give his or her details. Then, 20, 30 years down the line, the person has moved on, he has got a family, maybe the third wife and kids from different mothers.
Yes.
Now, if that information is not
recorded and updated, yes,
and updated, that's where we'll then have a problem, because before payout is made, we need to ensure that all dependents of the deceased are taken care of.
Okay.
From what was mentioned on the nomination list. Mm-hmm. In a case where sometimes people will nominate my mother and my father.
Okay.
But by the time I pass on, my mother and my father are no longer alive.
Yes.
But instead, I've got kids. Now, what that does is that it then gives the GPF an extra burden, because then in that case, the trustees must investigate that by the time we pay you, that there would not be any other person that comes to say he or she was also entitled.
Okay, and that is also what you said, Tatu Smanga, causes the delay in there. So you are encouraged, Ninama members, you need to update those details. If ni shada, if ni divorce, if ni banabantwana no mama basha, you have to update those details in order for them to reflect with system your GPF, so that when amawudlule emhlabeni kube lula ukuthi phela all your children and all your beneficiaries bathole ama benefits wabo. Usisithandi eBragpan, can I also just ask ama callers wami ukuthi please keep your questions very short and to the point, so that sizo accommodate a lot more other people abafuna ukungena namhlanje. Sisithandi eBragpan, sakwamukela Ntokazi, umbuzo noma umbono.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for giving me the chance, the opportunity.
Thank you. Go ahead, Sisithandi.
Mine might sound a bit not so real, but it's something that has been haunting me for the past 8 months. I retired end of January. On my retirement, I received my pension money, which was a gratuity. But calculating it, honestly, I have never been satisfied up to now. I just want to ask the guys there to assist, maybe revisiting this issue again, so that I can be able to understand and be satisfied. The money I got to me was too little compared to my service and my deductions.
Okay.
So I just need assistance on that regard. Thank you so much.
All right, Siyabonga Assistant. You can also leave your numbers with our producers in case, of course, our guests want to assist you directly. Brian, what can you say there? She says, of course, and this is the issue that we used to talk about. I don't know if you were here, Babu Smangu Guti. the question was, how do you calculate how much a member then is reimbursed, and also can they dispute it, and what is the dispute mechanism and channels of dispute and also of rectifying it, Brian?
Okay, so it is actually very simple to calculate what you're entitled to.
Yes.
Our rules specify that in terms of your retirement benefit, it is a factor of 1/55 multiplied by the number of years you've been part of the GEPF, multiplied by your final average salary at the point at which you retire. So we're able to give Mamtandi that breakdown once I get the details.
Okay.
What then happens is sometimes members, what we quote you is a gross amount. What then lands in your bank account still has to be taxed by SARS.
It has to be taxed, yes.
So sometimes because of that tax impact, our members then are not happy with the final figure they get because it has been reduced by tax. And maybe that could be the issue, but we would need the specifics of details, and we'll gladly give her the breakdown of these calculations.
But
and
why
then,
the tax? You know, somebody said this, Brian, when we asked this question last time, was when I am contributing monthly, at that point, I'm already getting taxed. So why is my lump sum then getting taxed also?
Not quite, actually.
What happens?
Because what you're contributing is what you're contributing before you're taxed.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
So it's separate from when you are actually contributing your tax towards SARS, when you are contributing towards your pension, just to get that out of the
In
way.
actual fact, while working, your contribution towards a pension fund advantages you because you are now paying lesser tax. Example, if you are earning 10,000 rand and you contributing 7.5% thereof, if SARS is supposed to tax you, say for instance, at 36% of that 10,000, because they only see your money after your contribution to pension fund, they no longer see you as earning 10,000, they see you as earning 9,250, and therefore your tax bracket goes down.
Okay.
So it means your contribution was never taxed. Hence, when you leave, we must then report what we are going to be paying to you to tax, so that taxmen can then give us a directive for us to give what is due to SARS, and what is due to you. We can't run away from tax, unfortunately.
They say death and taxes are certain.
All right, so just to clarify it, it's never GEPF that taxes the amount. You get a directive from SARS when the person is about to retire. Mbukele, I hope nilalele lapho. There are the numbers 011-714-0669, 0670, and of course ungasithinta ku WhatsApp, ungasithola ku Facebook, usikhona futhi ku SABC Plus, and isho yethu ya repeat. We're talking everything GEPF. Uma umsebenzi kahulumeni unama beneficiaries. Don't go anywhere because we're back shortly after this. Yilungelo Lakho in partnership with the GEPF. Mbukeli, we're talking everything pension fund related. Nezinto phela that you need to be aware of if whether you're a member or of course was umuntu family or a member. My guest still Ubaba Usimanga Salameni and of course Mr. Brian Kareza basinceda ke namhlanje ukuthi what are some of the pointers and things that you need to look out for. Just before the ad break, besikhuluma noSisithandi. Brian, you wanted to add something very specific there that we were talking about off air. That I mean, there could be a number of reasons. Of course, you don't have her specific case, but I mean, you mentioned something very important here, that these disputes might even arise from the fact that somebody got divorced and so forth. How does divorce actually affect what you get as your final payout? Very interesting.
So divorce can reduce what you eventually get paid out as your
If,
pension
let's
benefit.
say, what is the context? Are these both members that were contributing to the GEPF, or one member was contributing but the spouse was due accrual benefits because by purely being the spouse of the member?
So in any case, as long as you're married in a community of property, or as long as the divorce settlement agreed for a split of your pension savings.
Yes.
It can result in you receiving a lower benefit than what you'd have expected based on the number of years you worked or were part of the GEPF.
Okay. All right. Babu Smanga, you wanted to add something there very quickly as well.
Yes, but also in some instances, hence my earlier argument that people need to submit their exit documents
On top,
way in
well
advance.
before, well
Because
ahead, yeah.
In other instances, we are faced with situations where people will say, I started working in 1981, but what I got, I was only paid from 1994. Forgetting that pension fund is a function of contributions. And at some point, as black people, we were not contributing to pension fund because we were not recognized as workers.
This is
And only later in
pre-1994.
the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, we started contributing.
Okay.
Now, because we started in 1981, we may not even recognize that period. And only recognize you when you started contributing.
Okay.
So it is important then to submit your exit documents way in advance so that all those are dealt with, and where it's possible, we are able to explain to you exactly why are we saying 30 years and not 37 years of service.
All right. Okay, Mbukelo, I hope ukuthi uzwileke lapho bayachaza nje ukuthi wena submit your documents ahead. Ungathi phela ngiyaresigna kusasa ufike usunikeza ubaba uSimanga or uBrian amaphepha, because then it's going to take time. Then kusamele benza ama investigations nama calculations bayise SARS, ne SARS ithathe yakhe imali. Uyabona, so nje please do yourself a favor. Let's go back to those lines again. Elder in Tembisa, siyakwamukela ohlelweni. Umbuzo noma umbono?
Sanibonani.
Kunjani sisi?
Ngiyaphila.
Siyaphila.
Bengicela ukubuza.
Yebo, buza
Umama
sisi.
washona 1978.
Yes.
Bekasebenza Yilungelo hospital. So manje ne, I'm sure 5 years back ngafonela i-GEPF. So abakhona ukumtracer ngoba I was using that old ID document.
Okay.
So ngazi ukuthi unento wayithola or kwenzakalani, we don't know.
Okay. Bathi ne GEPF sis Elder mubafonela. Bathi nje abakwazi ukumtracer and that's it. There's nothing else they can do.
Yeah, with this old ID document. Liyakudala siseba.
Oh, okay. All right, sis Elder. Ngicela nawe ushiye ama details wakho nama producers wethu. We'll see what we can do. Tatu Smanga, I mean, we've just spoken about this ukuthi nge-apartheid government and then of course the new administration ngo-1994. Izinto zazilokhu ziluyasho ngempela ukuthi umawashona ngo-1978, but she was part of ilokhuzana of I think she was contributing. So uthi yena one fonela 5 years ago kuthiwa anikhona ukumtracer. Singamsiza kanjani?
Yes, probably it's because of that reference number, the DOMPAS
Yes,
number,
DOMPAS.
because we have since changed to IDs. But one thing that does not change when working for government, it's your personal number, your personal salary number.
Akuna employee number, Baba.
Yes, that's what is called an employee number in government.
Nowadays.
Yeah, it's called a personal number. So probably if she had provided that as well, it could have assisted in terms of tracing. And there's no way, if there's money that her mom was entitled to, there's no way we will not be able to pay her, because we currently in a campaign for unclaimed benefits, looking for
Yes.
people that worked and left government without claiming their money.
I know, Babu Smanga, because I've seen the book. I mean, you brought the book this one time. It is this thick with Abantu that have not claimed them up benefits. But then if you're saying you're struggling with things like tracing and you can't do anything in that regard, so there's absolutely nothing you can do if you don't have a trace number or an ID number or personnel number in this case.
I think in this case, it's only that she's using a DOMPAS number.
Okay.
While we have moved towards ID numbers.
But what are the alternatives?
So that is why I was saying an alternative could have been that employee number or a personal number.
Okay,
Could
or
have
she must
assisted.
go check
Or-
if Umawake
or-
was a contributor or part of the
Yes.
unclaimed benefits.
Or a pension number.
Okay.
Because even as a member of the GEPF, you are then given a pension number
Okay.
as a form of identification. So
Okay.
there are so many forms of identification she could have used than using that dumpers number.
All right, Brian, to wrap it up very quickly, I mean, I want you to basically lay it out for your members who are basically getting tempted to leave, to retire, to resign and go invest with the private entities. Why? What are the disadvantages of them doing that?
So unfortunately, our members seem to be very pessimistic.
Yeah.
I think the selling point that the brokers use is that what will happen if you die quickly? You'll have contributed so much, and then your beneficiaries that survive are not going to get anything out of it.
And that's not true, is it?
So not quite true. Yes, you would have more benefits on the living annuity side if that was the case. But then I want to throw in some facts and statistics to help balance the argument.
Very quickly, we've got 2 minutes.
If you look at the average GPF member, they're expected to live up until the age of 83 for a male or 85 for a female. So from the point you retire, you could still be receiving benefits for 23 years. And if you look across those 23 years, the benefits you receive from the GPF will far outweigh what you get from a living annuity. And also, in those 23 years, you've got a higher chance of outspending what is in your living annuity, and you spend the risk. You face the risk of having no money in your later years of life.
So don't do it. Don't be tempted. Don't go over to the other side. As much as they might be dangling very good-looking fruit palm when Tatusmanga, we're out of time.
Alternatively, we have no problem with our members having more than one source of income.
Okay.
Don't leave the GPF. Rather, if you are tempted to invest outside of the GPF, invest your lump sum, your gratuity, so that you are then not putting all your eggs in one basket.
In one basket.
Yes.
Siyabonga kakhulu. Hayi ke mbukeli. That is unfortunately how we wrap it up with our first official installment in partnership with the GEPF. Aseza amanye ama-episodes mbukeli njengoba besishilo kwi-promo ukuthi do look out for those specialized promos where we are working in partnership with the GEPF. Labo ke besicele khona ukuthi phela sinazise ngezinto ekumele uzazi futhi uziqaphele uma phela wena usebenza under i-government, so that uzokwazi ukuthi upon your retirement nazi izinto ekumele uzazi, and this is what is due to you. Mbukeli, we're going to leave it there for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. Babu Smanga Selemeni, GEPF Communications Manager, ngiyabonga, and Brian Karidza, the GEPF Head of Actuarial Services and Benefit Administration. Thank you so much for your contributions and your calls. Babukeli, unfortunately, my hour today felt like 20 minutes. Okwamanje eyakajalithi ngane nje nisale kahle. Do catch the repeat and also look out for isho yethu ku SABC Plus. For Mama Charlie and the team, nisale kahle.
Yilungelo